Hey, it's Angela.
Hey, it's Richie, and we're here to pick some more bowl games. We did week 1 so far of the bowls, and we're actually tied 99 in the tallies. We're going to do week 2 today, which will be defined Wednesday through Friday. Wednesday, December 26th, Thursday, December 27th, and Friday, December 28th. Then we'll do another one for the Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday games next week. We'll have another video. But we have a special guest today. Our brother's visiting, and he brought his doggy, and it's Donut. Come here, Donut. Ooh. Donut! Hi, Donut! He's gonna help us pick games today, and maybe, or he'll just sit here in the background. But it's Donut! So,
Donut, California.
Donut came from California. We had him mailed. But, alright, so, we're gonna pick some bowls. We got some stats for you, got all the things. First bowl game, Wednesday, December 26th. It's the ServPro First Responder Bowl. Boston College Eagles against the Boise State Broncos. Kind of two different styles a little bit. Boston College is, both defenses are good. Boston College has one of the best running backs in A.J. Dillon in the country. They're more of a ground and pound. They're not a triple option, but they're more conservative offensively. They'll pass it some, but they're more, like I said, they play defense. They run the ball a lot, handoffs and stuff. Boise State they're one of the year in and year out. They're usually one of the best offenses in the country, at the very least in the top 20. They can pass it. They can run it. They have Alexander Matterson at running back. Brett Ripien is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play statistically in college football, at the very least in Mountain West, and even at Boise State. And Boise State is known for their high flying, their quarterback play and stuff, and he's so far the best to ever do it. Maybe not by wins technically, but everything else, and pretty close with wins. So Boise State, I'll shout out a couple of people. If there are people that are close to 1,000 yards and close to me, usually within 200 receiving or rushing yards, I'll shout them out. Boise State has receiver Sean Monster, who's 22 yards away from 1,000. He's at 978. And then wide receiver A.J. Richardson, he's at 825, so he's 175 away. That's kind of a lot. A.J. Richardson might not get it, but Monster could get it in one play. A 22-yard gain is not uncommon, especially in the kind of offense they have. They can definitely do that. Boston College, they don't have really, like I said, A.J. Dillon, he's got over 1,000 yards rushing. They don't have anybody really close. So, in terms of who I think will win, I think probably overall Boise State. I think they're the overall better team. So I'm going to go with Boise State. Now, this was one of those games where Boston College could win it. Boise State could blow them out. Boise State could win it close. Boston College could win it close. I don't really see Boston College blowing Boise State out if they were to win, but I think Boise State.
I'm going to go for Boston College.
All right, then the next game on that Wednesday is the Quick Lane Bowl, Minnesota Golden Gophers and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Minnesota did a good job to end their year with a big win over Wisconsin, which is the first time I think they'd beaten them in like 15 years to become bowl eligible. They have a pretty good running back in Mohamed Ibrahim, who's only 64 rushing yards away from 1,000 yards rushing. Georgia Tech, though, they have that triple option that we talked about all year. They're one of the top 4 running teams in the nation. Oddly enough, they have a starting quarterback, but their backup has played so much that both quarterbacks could conceivably get over 1,000 yards rushing, which I don't know that it's ever happened where 2 quarterbacks on one team had over 1,000.
Wow.
Quarterback Taquan Marshall, he's 104 rushing yards away from 1,000. The backup Tobias Oliver, he's 193 rushing yards away. Now that'll be a lot harder to get, and I doubt Tobias Oliver will get that much. But I can see Taquan Marshall because they are a running team. 104 rushing yards is not... I mean, it's a really good game, but it's not, unachievable. All that being said, my pick, though, I'm actually going to go with Georgia Tech. I think their running game might be a little too much for Minnesota to handle.
I'll go for Georgia Tech.
All right, then the last game on Wednesday, the Cheez It Bowl, the California Golden Bears and the TCU Horned Frogs. This is kind of hard for me to pick because both teams, especially this season, are kind of very much similar. I mean, the record, one is 7-5, one is 6-6, but in terms of their style of play, both are really good on defense. California this year might be slightly better, but TCU generally is one of the best defenses in the country. Both offenses are normally good, but this year both offenses are kind of struggling. Both quarterback plays kind of mediocre. It's just they're very even, which means it should be a pretty close game, if not maybe low scoring kind of. I'll say, let's see if TCU has anybody, or California. So they have a running back. Their running back Patrick Laird. He's 68 rushing yards away from 1,000 yards rushing. TCU has a pretty good receiver, Jalen Rager. He's kind of a good all-purpose guy. He's over 1,000 receiving yards. I'm giving this slight edge to TCU, but this really was really hard for me to pick. It literally it's like coin toss, kind of thing.
Well, then I'll go for California.
Yeah. All right, going into the Thursday games. The first one there, the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl. Temple Owls taking on the Duke Blue Devils. Temple, they have a really good running back, Raquel Armstead. Duke has running back Deion Jackson, he's 194 rushing yards away from 1,000, which would be kind of a lot for him to get, but I mean, people have done it. Duke has a good quarterback in Daniel Jones. Temple's quarterback, he's kind of been, he can have great games where he passes 4 touchdowns. Like, the perfect example of him is they beat a ranked Cincinnati team, a really good Cincinnati team earlier this year in overtime, where Cincinnati's now a 10-win team. In that game, their quarterback led them to the win, and he threw 3 touchdowns, which is good, but he also threw 3 interceptions. So it's kind of like, which one are you going to get in that case? Against UCF, he played really well, threw, I think, 4 touchdowns and only 1 pick, so he can have a really good game. We just don't know. Duke, their quarterback, Daniel Jones, he's a really good kind of dual threat. He can run, he can pass. This one was also pretty hard for me to go with, but in the end, I'll go with Temple to win.
I'm going to go for Duke.
I think Temple has ended up more, overall as a team, has ended the season more consistently than Duke has been very much up and down all year. All right, then the new era Pinstripe Bowl, the Miami Hurricanes and the Wisconsin Badgers. Again, another one of those things. Both teams really good on defense, some of the best in the country. Both are kind of, they have decent running games. Wisconsin has a Doak Walker Award winner and Jonathan Taylor, who's only 11 yards away from 2,000 rushing yards. The Miami running back Travis Homer, he's 31 yards away from 1,000 rushing yards. Even at quarterback play, for Wisconsin, they kind of their first quarterback, he got injured, so they had a freshman come in. But even then, the quarterback play was kind of mediocre. But the same with Miami all year. Their quarterback play, they've gone through 2 different guys, mainly because of play, not so much injury, and they're kind of mediocre. I will say I'm giving Wisconsin, pretty much all I have is the running back. Now, he's one of the best in the country, but the slight edge I'm going to give to Miami, because even though the quarterback play is similar, the athleticism of the Miami quarterbacks are a little bit better, and what I mean is they can run better. They can pass okay, but just like the quarterback for Wisconsin can pass okay, but the running ability from the Wisconsin quarterbacks aren't they're not quite as dynamic, where the Miami quarterbacks can run more, which might add a little bit more of a threat. So I'll go with Miami.
And I'm going to go for Miami.
right, then the last game on Thursday is the Academy Sports Outdoors Texas Bowl. This is the Baylor Bears and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Let's see, Vanderbilt, they have a wide receiver, Kalijah Linscomb, who's 114 receiving yards away from 1,000, which is very, very much doable. Baylor's had a pretty good, Charlie Brewer at quarterback has a pretty good year so far. Vanderbilt, Cal Shermer, their quarterback, has had a pretty good year. Both teams 6-6 coming in. Baylor, they have a wide receiver, Jalen Hurd. Now, here's the interesting about Jalen Hurd. He started out at Tennessee as a Tennessee Volunteer. In fact, he started at running back. And not only that, last year, the year before, he actually had well over 1,000 rushing yards in it the one season. Like, he was one of the better backs in the entire SEC, right? And he's played Vanderbilt a couple of times. He decided to transfer before the season partially was his doing because he kind of had an attitude and Tennessee kind of got rid of him, basically. He left on his own accord, but they kind of like nudged him out. Then he goes to Baylor. He transitions from running back to wide receiver and is almost a 1,000-yard wide receiver. So he's actually a really good player no matter what position you put him in. So I would say overall, Vanderbilt has Keyshawn Vaughn, who was a transfer from Illinois. He's a 1,000-yard rusher for Vanderbilt. So it could potentially be a shootout. I'll go with Baylor, though. I think Baylor's probably the better overall team.
Baylor. I'll go for Baylor.
All right, so going into the Friday games, the first game, the Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl, the Purdue Boilermakers and the Auburn Tigers. Purdue has a high-flying offense behind David Blau. They can pass it all over the place. Auburn, they kind of have performed below their standards going into. They were expected. A lot was expected from them coming in, and it kind of underperformed.
Who did?
Auburn did.
Oh.
Their quarterback play, Jarrett Stidham, he's okay. Talent-wise, people like him. He was a high recruit, but in my opinion, he hasn't played very well. Not up to at least what was expected of him. This was, like I said, these are kind of tough ones for me to choose from, but I'll go with Auburn here.
And I'm going to go with Purdue.
All right, the Camping World Bowl, West Virginia Mountaineer against Syracuse. When I saw this matchup, I was super excited. I was like, two of the best offenses in the country. Should be shootout. Will Grier at quarterback for West Virginia. Eric Dungy at quarterback for Syracuse. Syracuse, they even have running back Mo Neal is 173 rushing yards away from 1,000. Wide receiver Jamal Custis is 174 receiving yards away from 1,000. So, there's all the potential there. West Virginia already has a 1,000-yard receiver, and Gary Jennings Jr. is 83 receiving yards, and David Sills, the fifth, is 104 receiving yards away. Both, very close to, and very well, both could get that many because they pass around a lot, and they're very close to getting 1,000 yards. Now, I say I was excited when I saw the matchup. The reason I'm not is Will Grier is skipping the bowl game to focus on the draft, so he doesn't want to get hurt.
And
he's West Virginia's quarterback. He was a Heisman candidate, had a great last 2 years actually in college. Not that their backup couldn't, he's a freshman, but to be honest, they were even, and I was leaning towards West Virginia, and now without Grier, they could. They have the potential, they have the team, they have the system to be able to still put up points. But I think the quarterback difference, so I'm going to go with Syracuse in this one.
And I'll go for Syracuse.
So the final game of Friday, the Valero Alamo Bowl, Iowa State Cyclones taking on the Washington State Cougars. Iowa State, again, even though they made a bowl last year, Iowa State is not one of those teams that keeps making it back to bowls, and they made it this year. Brock Purdy, their freshman quarterback, he came in and was great. Davey Montgomery, running back's a really good running back. Washington State has had a phenomenal year. They had their quarterback, Gardner Minshew, who transferred from ECU. And if anybody wants to go back to the videos at the beginning of the year, I said he would have a great year, and he did. I called that one. I'm going to take credit for that one. This one, though, Iowa State keeps performing beyond what I think they will. So, I want to say Washington State will blow them out, because Washington State has the #1 passing offense in the country, one of the best offenses in the country. They should be able to put up, like I said, their quarterback play, put up all kinds of points. I think Washington State will win. Now, whether it's close or by a lot, it's all really on what Iowa State, because Iowa State could come in and then shock me and just win, because they kind of just come out of nowhere randomly this year and win. So, but I'm going to go with Washington State for this.
Alright, I'll go for Washington State.
Alright, so those are our bowl games, and Donut really helped a lot with those. Come on, Donut. I think he's camera shy, but
He's just chilling.
yeah. So we'll be back in a few days or whatever, at least for this weekend for the week 3, the last week of the bowl games. Then after those, the national championship game will be set, and we'll do a video for that to pick that and break that down for all of you. So check out our videos. We'll be coming back with more.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody, and be safe, be good. Peace.